Good morning, everyone. Tax season is here, and there are some important changes that you definitely want to be mindful of. Joining us this morning is President and CEO Cathy DeWitt Dunn of DeWitt Dunn Financial Services with more on what you need to know before you start filing. Good morning, Cathy. We're glad to have you. What are some of the major changes that people need to be mindful of before they start filing?
The standard deductions for tax years 2020 and 2021 have changed. And I think people that are filing their taxes right now need to be aware of that. When you file your taxes on April 15th, some of the numbers that you need to be aware of: if you're single and you're filing your taxes, the deduction is $12,400 for an individual filer, and then also double that, which is $24,800 for a married couple filing jointly. And if you want to look ahead to 2021, that increases $150 for a single filer and then $300 for a married couple filing jointly. And also, there's some great news when it comes to saving for retirement for people that are making single taxpayers that are making $32,500, or also for a married couple filing $65,000, you're going to be incentivized to contribute to your retirement accounts, whether it's an IRA or a 401k. And that's really big if you really think about as you're preparing your taxes and also thinking about retirement later down the road.
And I know the CARES Act went into place, and that created a lot of changes for people as well. When it comes to the required minimum distributions, what do our filers need to know?
Well, the great news is due to the pandemic and what occurred last year, the required minimum distribution age increased to age 72. So that allowed people that did not need that income for this past year to be able to pass on it, so they won't have to, account for that on their taxes. And then that also helped them continue to have a little bit more of a nest egg going forward. The thing that's pretty interesting, which is good news if you are at the required minimum distribution age, there is an act or bill that's before Congress right now, maybe increasing that to age 75. So hopefully we can defer taxes on that later down the road.
Yeah. And then last year alone, we saw that there was just such a widespread need in so many different areas. So a lot of people were giving back to try to help cushion some of that load that was there. What about charitable donations?
You know, that's really a great and interesting thing that happened this past year. Is typically when we were donating to charities, we were only able to deduct 60% of that, based upon our gross income. But this past year, we were able to deduct 100% of that amount from our taxes. So that really incentivized people to increase their charitable donations this past year.
And then we know some folks, Cathy, are really just hanging on by a thread. Things have been really tough for a while now, and some of them are still waiting on that second stimulus check. If they are, anything that they need to be mindful of as far as that's concerned?
Well, as you need to go ahead, if you have not received that check yet, you need to go ahead and immediately file your taxes for tax year 2020, because that's going to also stimulate that payment either to come to you in the form of a check, or perhaps if you owe money to the government, that's going to reduce your tax obligation. So it's very important, if you've not received that check, to file immediately, so that way you can feel the impact of receiving that money.
Also, a lot of people have had to work from home. I am one of them, so I know for sure how that works. Any at-home expenses as far as that's concerned, because they are using their own equipment in a lot of cases when they're working from home?
You know, you would think that that would be something that you could deduct, but actually you can't. If you're an employee of a large employer or employer just in general, and you've been forced to work at home, that is not something that you can deduct. If you're an independent contractor and you have a home that you've been using for office, and everything inside of that room is 100%, based upon a need for your business, then you can deduct it. But if you're an employee just working from home, that's going to be an issue. And then also, if you're telecommuting from your office, you need to make sure that you've accounted for how many days you've actually been working in your office, because you may be liable for taxes in the area that you've been telecommunicating to.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting.
I know that's something you need to think about. So it's very important to work with a tax professional and ask these questions and make sure that they're aware of what it is that you've been doing behind the scenes, so they can account for that.
Yeah, it is, especially with all of these intricate changes. You definitely want a professional who knows what they're doing. Last question we want to get in for you. If anyone was a bit of a procrastinator and they filed their 2019 refunds after April 15th, what sorts of things do they need to keep in mind?
Well, the thing that's pretty interesting is last year is that they extended the tax deadline to July 15th, and a lot of people had filed their taxes, and maybe perhaps they did it early. And it's likely if you received a refund on your taxes that past year, that you're now going to be able to receive interest on that money. And we saw that over 14 million taxpayers are going to receive close to $18 on average on a refund. The thing that's interesting about this, Terrence, is that if it's over $10, you have to report that as income on your income taxes this year. How about that?
Wow. Okay. Well, Kathy, we know that usually you all have a website up that has like a check sheet for people to kind of follow through with these things. Can they go to your website to make sure that they're getting this information?
Absolutely. We've got a lot of great information at DeWittandDunn.com that'll answer a lot of your questions today. And also, if you have a question about required minimum distributions, don't hesitate to go to our website and send us a chat message. We'll be able to receive that, and we'll be able to help you.
It definitely sounds like you will need that help this year. Thank you, Kathy. And we will link you to DeWitt and Dunn on our website, fox4news.com.